guys, it's Annie Margarita Yang back with another video for you today. Today is January 9, 2024, and today I want to talk about applying to jobs that you're unqualified for. So yesterday, I gave you advice that if you want to apply, land a job offer quickly, you're going to have to apply to 50 jobs a day. When I was working with people and helping them land jobs in their job search, one of the biggest struggles, the biggest pushback and the resistance that I got in terms of applying to 50 jobs a day is, but I'm not qualified for this job, so I'm not even going to apply. I only meet half of the requirements, so of course they're not ever going to call me for an interview, so why am I going to put my time into applying for this job? First of all, you're not putting a lot of time, you're using the easy apply button, so it's only going to take 1 minute. And second of all, I just want to explain that a lot of the things that I ask people to do, especially when it comes to their job search, is actually really simple. Everything is very simple, especially if you've done college, all right? 33% of the US adult working population has a college degree. The things that I'm asking you to do, they're not hard. If you've gone to college and you've done all sorts of things, I'm asking you to do really, really simple, easy things. But the problem is all in your mindset. It's all in how you view your world. It is your perception, your paradigm, your world view. It is your limiting beliefs. It's all of this stuff, this drama that your mind creates that leads you to take the wrong action or no action at all, and then you get no results, and then you wonder why. It's all because it starts all up here. So while I can verbally sit here and tell you, oh yeah, the answer to your problem is you need to apply to 50 jobs a day, or that's one of the things you need to do. You will drag your feet basically, and you're gonna give all sorts of excuses in the book for why it's not going to work. And that is basically your brain working against you. So my job here isn't necessarily to repeat all of the same advice that you can read in any job advice book. Right? You can read all of the same advice that I want to tell you. I'm going to tell you basically all of the same things. Have a good resume, put your accomplishments on the resume, and all those things. But the problem is your mindset, and that's a blind spot. You're not able to spot what those blind spots are. One of those blind spots is believing that you're not qualified for the job, therefore you're not even going to apply. So today, I want to tackle this, and hopefully by the end of this video, you're able to shift your mind into a different state of mind regarding this, and it's going to encourage you and motivate you to apply for jobs that you think you're not qualified for. Because the fact is, you are qualified. You deserve the job, okay? Because we have a lot of stupid people in this world who run our country, and I really believe people who are smart, who are competent, they really should have a lot more confidence in themselves. But because, I don't know, you guys have imposter syndrome and things like that. You just think you're not qualified, therefore you don't step up and you don't get promoted because you don't ask for it and things like that. So I really want to help people who are smart, who are capable, get the jobs that they want, because I really think our world should be run by people who are a lot smarter. Okay, so the first one is I want to share a story about this time. I was 22 years old. I had just finished community college and my online bachelor's degree in communication. So I moved from New York City to Lubbock, Texas to be with my husband because he was doing a master's degree there. And my husband was asking the whole time, are you sure you want to move here? Are you sure? Because life is really different here. It's the kind of town where if you don't have a car and you don't know how to drive, you really won't be able to get around. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure. This is how 22-year-olds are once they've graduated, they're just they have a lot of hope for the world, and they're so naive about how the real world is. I was kind of like that. I was no, I'm sure, because if I can make it in New York on minimum wage, I can make it anywhere. I had that kind of attitude. So I moved all the way to Texas, no job lined up, nothing, just $2,000 in my savings because I had eaten through all my savings while going to college and not working. And then my first month there, I was applying for jobs. I didn't apply to that many a day because, first of all, there weren't that many listings online. This is the kind of place where if you want to get a job, it really is a small place where you have to know someone who knows someone who knows someone. And me being there just a transplant, I didn't know anyone. So even if you wanted to apply for jobs and you wanted to implement the 50 job a day tactic, it's not going to work in that kind of place. Because honestly, there weren't that many jobs to apply to begin with where I was. So I was applying to jobs, especially because I wanted to do something financial related, and the only thing financial related was at a bank. And in this whole, they call it a city, I would consider it a town because I'm from New York City. In this whole small town, there are only 8 banks. 8 banks. And the kind of people who worked at these banks, they're people who will stay there for 20 years, 30 years. Like, they stay there until they retire. So there's very few openings, very few, low turnover. I applied for a job at Prosperity Bank. They were looking for, I think it was a teller or something. And I met 7 out of the 8 requirements in the qualifications list. And I was like, I should get this job in back. Like, I was so convinced when I applied for this job. I was like, there's no way I'm not going to at least get an interview because I met 7 out of the 8 qualifications that they want. I can definitely do this job. There's no way I can't do this job, right? And then less than 24 hours later, I get a rejection email. And then I was like, what? That's weird. Huh? Why? And then I emailed back. I was like, can I at least know why I got rejected? And then they're just like, you didn't meet all of the qualifications. I was like, but I met 7 out of the 8. Like, are they looking for someone who meets 8 out of the 8? Does anyone even exist in the world who would meet all 8, right? And then I was so upset that I walked into a Prosperity Bank branch and I walked up to all of the tellers and I asked those blonde white girls, I was like, how many of these qualifications did you meet when you applied for the job? And they were like, I don't know. I meant like half of them, all of them. They said, yeah, we didn't meet all of the requirements. We met like half of them. And then at that point, because I was so upset, I was like, oh, the hiring manager must be racist. It must be because, I'm Asian. Maybe they think because I have a last name, Y-A-N-G, Yang, they probably think I'm some foreigner. They don't know that I speak perfect American English, that they weren't even willing to give me an interview or something. And, I blamed it on that, and I was just so hung up on this. I was crying about it, ruminating, complaining to my husband for 48 hours, and he had enough. After 40 hours, he's like, can you just stop, right? And we had a whole argument over it. And he told me I had to grow like a thicker skin. He said, you have such thin skin. You cannot handle rejection. It's just one rejection, right? And I was like, you don't understand. And I'm pretty sure like everyone, probably every millennial, every Gen Z coming out of college or school, applying for jobs, their first job especially, and having to face this rejection, I'm pretty sure you understand how I felt in that situation, because I agree. I agree with his feedback. I definitely had thin skin because I couldn't handle the rejection, especially because I was like, well, I met 7 out of the 8 qualifications. Shouldn't hiring be merit-based? How can you hire somebody who meets only half of the qualifications and you reject somebody who meets more of the qualifications? Like, it just doesn't make any sense, right? So that's my first experience of like, great, I met the qualifications, why didn't I get an interview? And then the second one was, so eventually in Lubbock, in the same town, I managed to get 5 part-time jobs by the time I was ready to move to Boston. So like, I was working 5 part-time jobs. I went from having no work to having like a lot of work. I was working 7 days a week. And one of those jobs was paying me $13 an hour, which at that time in my life, I was like, wow, $13 an hour is so much money. I was so happy and content, satisfied getting paid $13 an hour because I was earning $7.25 at Domino's Pizza, which is another one of those part-time jobs. So for me to earn $13 an hour, that's like almost double. When you look at it on a percentage basis, it's like almost double what I was making at Domino's Pizza. And when you look up the statistics for Lubbock, Texas in 2017, when you Google it, a living wage, what's considered a living wage in Lubbock, Texas is $9 an hour. And buying a house in that area, you can buy a house for less than like $100,000. I think at the time you could have bought a house for like $70,000, right? So $9 an hour was considered living wage. So for me to earn $13 an hour as a bookkeeper there, I was really content because I was earning more than the living wage in that area. So I was really content at that place. I worked there for 6 months, but my boss knew that I was going to move to Boston. And so I told her well in advance that I was moving and she would need to hire a replacement. She hires a replacement. The replacement starts working there about a month before I leave. So I have to train her. And this replacement says, I think this woman was like probably in her late 30s, right? And she had like a background in banking and finance and things like that. So she's like well experienced. And she was saying that she had experience in QuickBooks because this is a bookkeeping role, basically. She was saying, yeah, I've done QuickBooks before. I know my way around QuickBooks. And so she told me this. So I was like, okay, well, let me show her only the things that are specific to this company, like how the bookkeeping is done for this company. I'm not going to show her how to do QuickBooks itself, like how to use QuickBooks, because she already knows how to use it. Instead, I'm just going to show her very specific things for this company. And then as I'm showing her around on like how to do things, she asked me really stupid, very basic questions, such as like, oh, Annie, how do I sort the vendor list in QuickBooks from A to Z, like from ascending to descending or descending, you know? And then I was like, wait, haven't you used QuickBooks before? And then she's like, yeah, I know how to use QuickBooks. I was like, but you're asking a really basic question on how to sort a list. And you would know that you had to click this arrow to sort it from A to Z or Z to A. And after a few days of like basically training her, I realized she lied. She didn't know anything about QuickBooks. In fact, she had never used QuickBooks before, but she lied her way through the interview, and my boss believed that she had experience. And then like closer to my last day there, I found out that she was getting paid $17 an hour. So I was getting paid $13 an hour for this job that I knew how to do. And I was training her, who apparently she had more experience than me, but she didn't have any experience at all in QuickBooks. And she was getting paid $17 an hour. So basically somebody who knew less than me was getting paid more than me. And I think it's because part of it is she just had a lot more confidence than me. I definitely lacked the confidence because I was always questioning whether I had enough skills and qualifications and experience. So yeah, I lacked the confidence. And also because I was just so happy with getting paid $13 an hour simply because it was double what I was making at Domino's, that I never even thought to negotiate for more than what she had initially offered me. I just simply accepted it because I was so happy to have gotten that offer to begin with. So basically, this is why people who are unqualified for the job, they get hired. It's because people who are not qualified, they lie. They're not like fully transparent and honest about their skills, their experience, and they do it with confidence. And I don't recommend that. I want people who actually do know what they're doing and are competent to have more confidence in their job search. And I'm assuming if you're watching this, you want to know how to do that as well. Like you know you're smart. It's just like, why is it that you struggle with getting the job, right? And there's two things that you have to adjust in your mindset when it comes to applying for a job that you think you're unqualified for. And the first one is you have to think of the job listing and all of those qualifications that the employer is putting in the ad as just a wish list. So imagine it's Christmas and you get to make a wish list. You get to have anything you want. And so you make a wish list of like maybe 10 or 20 things, where if you can get all of those things, it's great. If you get only half of them, you'll also be satisfied. But it's just a wish list. Or imagine you're on Amazon and your mom says like, hey, Annie, I want to buy you some things for your birthday, some gifts for your birthday. You can get anything you want. Your budget is like $1,000 or something like that, right? And then I'm just like, great, I'm on Amazon, and I just start adding a whole bunch of things to my shopping cart. And I can add more than 1,000 things to my shopping cart. Maybe later on, after I've like added a whole bunch of things, I can start taking things out, right? It's just like a wish list. So think of when an employer is hiring for a job, it's basically just a wish list as well. They have a budget to work with. Great, whoopee, whoopee, we get to go shopping, and we're just gonna put a whole bunch of things on this list of things that we want. That's why we see like really outrageous requirements. Like for an entry-level job, they're looking for like 4 years of experience. At that point, it's not entry-level anymore, it's mid-level. But they've gone crazy with their shopping list here. And that's why. If you view it as just a wish list, then it will take a lot of pressure off of you, and you won't like read these job listings word for word and go crazy and go like, oh, but I didn't meet this requirement, therefore I'm not even going to apply. This is also one of the reasons why I think men, even if they're not qualified for a job, they just apply anyway. But women, it's like, if they don't think they're qualified, they're not going to apply, right? So get out of that mindset. Even if you don't think you're qualified, apply anyway. And I think this is a real struggle for people who are straight A students. I think so. I know I was a straight A student all throughout school, so I'm the kind of person, I like to follow rules. I like to meet expectations, you know, I like to really cross my T's, dot my I's, everything. So when I was reading job listings, I was like, oh, well, I'm not qualified for this, right? So like I have to read every line and every detail just to make sure it's right. And if this is the kind of mindset that you have, especially if you were a straight A student in school, because it served you well in school, but this mindset isn't going to serve you well in your job search. You see what I mean? Like it's not serving you at all, because if you don't apply, then you're not going to get the job. The first step to landing a job is to apply for the job. The other mindset that I have found to work for me is to basically, you know, when you apply for a job, I think a lot of people, they say these words to me, and the words are, I hate selling myself. I don't know how to sell myself, and I hate selling myself. It feels icky, it feels slimy. I hate bragging about myself, boasting about myself, talking about my accomplishments, and it makes me feel really uncomfortable to have to explain to the employer why I should be the one to get the job. And one of the ways you can get around this is basically to think of, when you submit your job application, you're not selling yourself. You're not boasting, you're not bragging, you're not doing any of that. You're not selling anything, okay? Think of it like this. You're just telling the employer, I exist. Hi, my name's Annie. I exist. I was born into this world. Here I am. Nice to meet you. And if you think of applying for a job as simply telling the employer that you exist and you're there, you know, I'm here if you need me. If you don't need me, it's okay, but I'm here, you know, then basically you're showing up in the world. The first step to success is basically showing up. If you're not showing up, if you're not applying for the job and nobody knows you exist, they're not even going to give you the opportunity. Simply the mere fact of someone knowing you exists, that is a very strong thing. I want to give you an example. So 2 days ago, my friend, she texted me. I'm so proud of her. So she texted me, she said, Annie, one of the pieces of advice you gave in your book is the importance of having a professionally designed email signature, like a branded email signature. You guys can get a $19 professionally designed email signature on www. I think it was signature.email. Yeah, signature.email is the name of the site. And so she did that. She actually followed the advice that I had in my book. And she's an accountant, and that's what she does full time, but she's trying to pursue her dream of like becoming a filmmaker and doing photography as well. So that's what she does on the side, and she's like building up her portfolio and her skills and experience. And she put in her email signature, I think like videographer or photographer, something like that. And she told me over the weekend, like, oh, I think one of the ways I can make contacts in the film industry is maybe I can volunteer at like some film festival in Florida. I think it was Sundance, I don't remember. And I said, wow, that's a great idea. You know, go and volunteer and make your connections there. And so she reached out to the person in charge, and the person saw her email signature, and they were like, actually, you know, you could do the photography and the videography for the entire film festival. So she was like, oh my gosh, Annie, it worked. Yeah, basically, you have to let people know what you do. if people don't know what you do, they don't have any opportunity to give you work. So the job application is basically just another form of that. Like, for example, I needed to make the audiobook for the 5-day job search, and I didn't want to go to a studio. I already had the microphone, so I figured, why don't I just record it on my own and do the editing myself? But I couldn't figure out how to get the microphone set up. I couldn't figure out how to set up the software and record it, let alone edit the audio. I didn't even know how to record the audio. And so I asked my piano teacher, do you know anybody who can teach me how to use this software because I need to make the audiobook? She's like, yeah, your music theory tutor. Yeah, that's really funny. Like my music theory tutor, who I've known for a month at that point, I was having weekly lessons with him. He knew how to do this, but I didn't even know that that was in his skill set. I didn't know that that was something he knew how to do and could teach me, because when I went on his LinkedIn, and when I did research on him, it wasn't stated anywhere. So had I had known, I would have just gone to him straight. But if I went to someone else, then he would have lost out. He wouldn't have gotten income from this job, basically. So think of applying for jobs as basically letting the world know exactly what you know how to do so that other people can give you opportunity. Don't see it as selling yourself. It's basically just informing people that you exist and that you know how to do certain things and you're able to help other people. This mindset shift should be able to help you in your job search and help you let go of the fact that you don't feel qualified, therefore you're not going to apply, because a lot of people have this, and this is going to be the one thing that can make a big difference in their search. That's it for now, and I will see you guys in my next video tomorrow.